Are you ready?
I was born ready.
Hey everybody, welcome on in to episode 12 of the Stock Guy and Alex Show, the podcast that covers topics around the world, business, news, markets, money, sports. People are talking about it, and so are we. The Stock Guy and Alex Show can be watched, listened, and viewed on YouTube and Spotify. It will also soon be able to be downloaded and listened to wherever podcasts are downloaded. Follow the show on Twitter, Insta, LinkedIn, TikTok, and all the major socials for clips, moments, and info about all of our episodes. What's up, Borat?
I don't get the reference.
Right before we went live, this guy goes and puts on a Borat V. What do they even call those? What is that even called?
I'm not sure. I've never seen the movie, and I don't know what you're referring to.
I'm just gonna post this in your I took a screenshot. I'm gonna have to post it in your DGen chat.
Listen, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove, and that probably is Photoshop. So how you doing, Alex? How's your week been?
I'm doing incredible, man. The weekend was great. Saw family. Saw a bunch of nieces and nephews, all between the ages of 5 and 10. They're maniacs, but they're great to hang out with.
Sounds like a nightmare.
It was, it was definitely tiring, but it was a good time. How was your weekend?
Rough. I had to fire the nanny this weekend. So we don't have a nanny, so it's been throwing the week a little bit yoinky. But took today off because my wife's listening right now. I don't know when she's listening, but I turned her into an American. I was tired of living in an immigrant household, and so as of today, she is an American citizen.
Oh, that's big, huge. That's big, huge. Good work. Good work. That's probably a long process, especially during COVID. I've been hearing that the process for citizenship has been taking years for some people. So big work.
But we nailed it. Like the first interview we did, like I went in there with her because it was right before COVID, and I was in there, and as soon as we sat down, I always scanned the background, and the guy had a 10th Mountain Division Afghanistan thing, and I was like, boom, we got this. She's like, what? So I started talking to the guys. He started opening up the file. He was like all serious. I was like, oh, you were 10th Mountain, huh? And he looks up, he goes, yeah, why? I said, Afghanistan? I said, what years were you there? He goes, 06, 07. I said, no shit, I was there in 06. I said, we were up with the 10th Mountain. I said, and we just ended up bullshitting for 30 minutes. He stamped our thing and we went on. And then today I couldn't go in with her. So I sat in a Walmart parking lot for 3 hours with the baby. But the guy was like talking about his wife or whatever like that. And then she brought up a joke about how me and they just bullshitted and she got her stamp and went on. So, hey, listen, sometimes it's, something. I guess she was just fortunate to get through so quickly, and not all the organization and studying she did for her test.
Yeah, I'm glad. It's great news. Great news.
Just fortunate.
You love to hear it. You're very fortunate. You're very fortunate that it all went favorable.
None of her hard work had to do nothing. She's just fortunate. Some people are fortunate to get through, and some people aren't.
Yeah, it's just about having gratitude. It's about being gracious. Listen, what's unfortunate about the nanny, though? Sorry to hear about that. And in your words, is making your week yoinky. Sorry.
Well,
to hear
yeah, we're having to
get
get somebody else. I mean, she was a great nanny. I mean, she's really good with the baby, amazing person. But she wasn't good communicating with people, and it just got to a point where it was too much. And I went out on the during my show on Friday, and I heard them going at it back and forth, and she was being very condescending. And I told my wife, I said, listen, nobody talks down to my wife like that except me. So we had to let her go. So it's unfortunate, but we'll look for some new candidates this week, and hopefully we'll find somebody.
Well, good. I'm glad you had a good weekend, but I'm sorry, obviously, that you're dealing with that. I know you took today off. But yeah, guys, thank you all for being here for episode 12. There's been a lot going on in this world. Creating a show for this was very, very fun because there's a lot going on right now. Guys, we're going to talk about a lot today. Elon's going to be discussed. There's been some Tom Brady stuff.
We're going to get to half of it like always.
Yeah, we'll probably get to about half, but we want to get to some Tom Brady stuff, Sony buying Bungie, but guys, we are going to open up this week with one of the biggest stories that's happening on social media. It seems to be one of those stories that everyone likes to hit the like button on, or leave a comment on, or leave a view for every time a new video gets posted.
Yeah, why do we only have like 500 subscribers? If you're listening to this and you're not subscribed to this, you're dead to me.
Guys, Joe Rogan responds to growing protests over COVID-19.
Wait, he has a podcast too, right?
Yeah, I think he has like 600 subscribers. It's not a lot. Joe Rogan responds to growing protests over COVID-19 misinformation on Spotify. Guys, if you're spending any time on social media at all, you've been exposed to, I'm sure, this crazy Joe Rogan saga that's been going on, specifically over a couple of episodes he did on his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience. relating to COVID-19. He brought some medical professionals into their field. Guys, the article says Joe Rogan defended himself Sunday, but vowed to try harder to offer more balance on his podcast in his first public response to the growing protests facing Spotify over COVID-19 misinformation. Rogan's comments came after the streaming service announced it would add a content advisory to any podcast episode that discusses the coronavirus. The move came after several musicians, led by Neil Young, said they were pulling their music from the platform over its failure to take action against the spread of falsehoods about vaccines. Its star podcaster, who signed a $100 million deal, that's some good chunk of change right there. That's what you get when you have 600 subscribers. But when you go from 500 to 600,
Howard Stern got more.
That's the big money jump. Giving the streaming service exclusive rights to his show in 2020 has been at the center of the growing backlash. Rogan responded at a 10-minute video posted to Instagram. He said he would do my best to make sure I've researched these topics and try harder to get people with differing opinions on his show, which reaches an estimated 11 million listeners. That's actually way more than 600. He said, I'm not trying to promote misinformation. I'm not trying to be controversial. He said, I've never tried to do anything with this podcast other than just talk to people and have interesting conversations. Sounds about right. I mean, you listen to Joe Rogan, I'm sure.
Don't really. I don't listen to Joe Rogan because my thing with him is that a lot of the times that his guests that come on, it's not topics I'm interested in, or it's just the same like muddled stuff. I do find that he does have some really good guests on, and like Joe Rogan, hate Joe Rogan, think his opinions are dumb. What he is a great interviewer. What I like about Joe Rogan and something that I try to take from him. I actually watched some of his stuff before I started doing my interview show, was that he's very good at pretending to be interested to even when he's not laughing, like when somebody makes a joke and keeping it very very personal, and I like that about Joe Rogan. But this controversy, it goes back to something we've talked about before, and that's you can't be canceled unless you cancel yourselves. Joe Rogan played it by the book, right? Let it go, let the media take hold of it, get going, and then throw a little, hey, listen, you're right, I'll try to be a little bit better like that, but no apologies, no crying videos, none of that. And he's like, hey, listen, I was just an interviewer, but you're right. You know what? Maybe I'll be a little bit more careful because this is kind of sensitive, but I'm not going to change who I am. And you know what? He came out on top. But you know who really came out on top? And that is anybody who watches my stream or knows about monetizing outrage culture. Because, real quick, this whole thing with Neil Young, right? I'm going to be honest with you. Joe Rogan has 11 million subscribers. There's probably not even 11 million people alive to this day right now that have ever bought a Neil Young album, okay? They're all dead or they've just moved on. There's not 11 million people that have ever bought one. Not owned it, but ever bought it. So when Neil Young comes up and says, I'm leaving unless you get rid of Joe Rogan, they just paid this guy $100 million. They're expecting 10 times that return over the next decade. You think that your 30 fucking streams a week are going to matter? No. But what it did do is it caused investors to say, hey, man, the market's already choppy. I don't know what's going on. This could be a big nasty thing. If other artists leave, I'm going to dump my shares. And once I saw that Neil Young and the only people that coalitioned with him were a bunch of who's, I was like, fuck it, we're buying the dip. And that stock has run like $40 a share in the last 3 days. It has been a moneymaker. So thank you, Neil Young, for making me money. I made more money this past week than you have in the past decade off of album sales. No offense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think I could tell you a Neil Young song. What is it? What's the song that Neil Young sang?
I don't know.
Like, what's his top? Let me Google real quick.
Google. But while you're Googling, can I go on a little rant about this?
Do it.
Okay. Listen, I get that Joe Rogan is influential, right? Just like, and I'm not playing two different sides. I went after LeBron James when he jumped and gave his, opinion about, police shootings and BLM and all that stuff before we knew the facts, and Joe Rogan the same way. I'll go after both of them. You got to be careful. But at the same time, if you listen to Joe Rogan and you base your medical life and your treatment of a life-threatening disease or virus based off of something Joe Rogan said, that's more on you than Joe Rogan is all I'm saying about
I think we run into that a lot. I think we run into it's more on you than you know what I mean? I feel like with the electorate and with
I'll bash somebody's opinion if it's stupid, LeBron or Joe Rogan. But if you go out and kill a cop because of what LeBron said, or you go out and fucking, drink battery acid because of Joe Rogan, then there's also a problem on you too. So I think we need to kind of stop idolizing people so much and thinking, oh my God, what they say is law.
And yeah, exactly. Stop taking what they say as law and just ask questions yourself. Like, hear something, but then also be a little skeptical, no matter who's telling it to you. You know, hear the value of it, and then be a little skeptical yourself. Here's Neil Young's 9 greatest hits, according to AmericanSongwriter.com. Harvest Moon is 9. Down by the River is 8. 7 is Ohio. 6 is Powderfinger. 5 is My Hey Hey. 4 is The Needle and the Damage Done. 3 is Like a Hurricane. 2 is Heart of Gold, and 1 is Old Man. Bro, Like a Hurricane,
I don't know a single one of those songs.
Is that Rock You Like a Hurricane? What is Like a Hurricane?
No, Rock You Like a Hurricane was Scorpions.
Okay, yeah, I don't even know. I've never even heard of these songs. Listen, shout out Neil Young. I'm sure you have great music. I haven't heard it. Also, listen, with the same sort of, like, I don't know, side of my brain that says Joe Rogan, you know, it's freedom of speech, and you know, he has the right to interview whoever he wants and have conversations with who he wants. The same side of my brain, I'm saying, Neil Young, you can do business with whoever you like. If you do not like to do business with
Apple
Spotify,
Music swooped them up.
Yeah, if you do not like to do business with Spotify, you have every right to do that as well. I'm over here just watching everyone all freak out and do all this crazy stuff. I'm just saying, listen, everybody's got the right to do all this stuff. This is just nature kind of doing its thing. However, it did sort of feel like this was the first weekend where Spotify kind of moved into that sort of, and listen, I mean, this is just, this could be not how it is in the future. It just feels like, oh, you know how Fox and MSNBC and CNN, everyone's got their position, conservative, left-leaning, right-leaning, whatever. This felt like the first weekend where it was kind of like, oh, Spotify's going to move into that more conservative side. Apple Music's going to take that more left-leaning liberal side.
No. You know what? Spotify wasn't going to make a move on it. You know why? Because the second they make a move on it, then they become a publisher instead of a platform. And they get there's all kinds of fucked up things. It's a whole fight that's going on with Facebook and Twitter and everything like that.
But from a branding perspective, that's how it comes off. It comes off
but
as,
who cares about branding in today's society? Nobody cares about branding. Branding morphs day to day. They care about retainment. 100%. Who is going to be the bigger cash cow? Who are they going to make or lose more money from? If anything, like I said, they made a ton. They're going to make a ton more money off this because people who didn't even know about Joe Rogan or didn't listen to him or didn't know whatever are now going to find out about this controversy, come to Spotify, listen to Joe Rogan, and he's going to win.
Good for business. I'm just saying from a brand perspective.
Maybe they should just do an affiliate program with Neil Young.
Or they could do an affiliate program with Elon Musk. I think he's just reaching out and making contacts with just random people across the internet, or at least random people across the internet are trying to make contact with him. Guys, according to an article on Benzinga.com, by the way, did you like that little sidestep, that little evade? On this article, Benzinga.
I don't know what evaded better, that or your hairline.
Benzinga.com. My hairline's receding big. My hairline's receding big time. The difference is I'm not insecure about it. You can say whatever you want about it. I'll acknowledge it. Receding hairline, big time.
That's because you have like 8 people that watch you.
I don't wear a hat. Nice hat, by the way. It is a nice hat. It's a nice basics. It's just one of those chill basics hats. To our audio listeners, Saki's got a nice hat on. Oh, he took it off. Oh, here comes a beanie and probably a tinfoil hat later. Let's hope. Jumpman, this is a nice beanie too. Guys, an article on Benzinga.com. Teen who asked for $50K to stop tracking Elon Musk's jet says the Tesla CEO has blocked him on Twitter. What a ridiculous headline and story this is.
Dude, I look good in a beanie.
Are you? Listen, you look good without the beanie, with the beanie,
no,
with
I'm
the hat
saying,
on.
like, I would actually fuck me now.
Okay. That's go back to the Borat V. Go back to the Borat V. See how you look in that thing. Show the camera. Oh, this is that part. This is that proof that he was talking about. Guys, while he's going to get this, teen who asked for $50K to stop tracking Elon Musk's jet says the Tesla CEO has blocked him on Twitter. Ridiculous story. We had to talk about it. Jack Sweeney, the enterprising teenager who created a Twitter bot to track down Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk's movements, says the world's richest person has blocked him on the microblogging site. What happened? The 19-year-old Florida University student said Musk has blocked him on Twitter after he turned down a $5,000 offer to shut down a Twitter service that tracks Musk's private jet. Sweeney had made a counteroffer of $50K or an internship opportunity to shut down the service. The teenager is still hopeful Musk would return to the bargaining table. This is really cool for, just some college kid who made some sort of piece of software is getting Elon Musk's attention. If he can eventually turn this into an internship, it's a big deal for this, Sweeney. Did you go get your thing?
No, but I was going to, and then I realized something. If that picture you took of me pre-stream is on the thumbnail, I'm suing you. I want you to know.
Well, are you? He's acknowledging the proof. It's a record that exists. And
Okay.
he's posturing a little bit.
I didn't say what. I just said the screenshot you took of me. Okay, number
and
one.
he's posturing
Number
a tad
two.
bit.
All right, let's talk about this. All right, so basically what happened was this kid started doing a tracking, because it's public knowledge, where these planes are, and his private jet started tracking it, and you could track it. And he was saying, this is great because you can see. What are you doing?
Grabbing the picture. Go, keep talking. Explain what happened here. Explain what happened.
You realize that there's laws against hate porn, right? Okay. Or revenge porn. Sorry. All right. So the thing is that he's tracking the plane, and he's saying, well, listen, it's public knowledge, and knowing where he's going could know where headquarters are and where deals are possibly being made, and it could be whatever. And so I get, where he's coming from. Musk, on the other hand, is saying, hey, listen, this is an invasion of privacy. This could lead to danger. These are rich people who are high targets. And then the guy has also said he wants to make one for Bill Gates, and he wants to make one for Jeff Bezos, something like that. But here's what happens. If you are going to offer someone money to make something go away, you have to go big. Because if you are the richest person in the world and you offer someone $5,000 to get rid of something, the amount of publicity and money and return on them turning you down is far exceeding the $5,000 that you would have given him. You gave him $5,000, it goes away. What does he do with that $5,000? Nothing. He buys a car. I mean, yeah, sure, it comes in under the personal gift $15,000 limit per year. But what's he going to do with $5,000? Nothing. He could now he gets all the publicity for his app, which then could bring investors in or could bring other people in. It brings the media in. He's going to make way more money. You make him disappear. You say, listen, if I make this go away, you don't talk about it with anybody, you give me the rights to it, and you sign an NDA, I'll give you, whatever. The kid even came back with $50,000. Let me tell you what $50,000 is to somebody of Elon Musk's worth, okay? It is less than 1/100th of 1 cent. Okay, so if there was something you wanted to go away, and it would literally basically having the other person pay you to make it go away, you do it. You don't come back with no.
So hold on, I'm confused. Are you saying that he should have paid him?
I'm saying if you wanted to make it go away, you don't start your offer with $5,000 if you are worth $300 billion.
And do you also think the kid should have asked for more?
I think Elon should have came to the kid and started with what will make this go away.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
because if you really care about it, there's no number that is going to bother you when you're worth that much money. And the kid's not going to ask for $1 million. If the kid says $50,000, you say, all right, done, sign this NDA, give me the rights, it's over, it's gone.
Well, here's that plug that you're talking about. Sweeney is meanwhile just getting started and launching a startup named Ground Control to monitor the flight activity of more billionaires. Sweeney's Elon Jet Twitter account has already gathered about 100K followers since it was launched in June 2020.
He's already made way more than the $5,000. It was a no-brainer.
Yeah, there's tons of value there. Ground Control aims to make
money.
money.
It's a Barbra Streisand effect is what it is.
Ground Control aims to make money by tracking other prominent billionaires, including Microsoft Corp's co-founder Bill Gates and Amazon's Jeff Bezos. The report noted, adding that the business of real-time location data of private aircrafts presents privacy and legal concerns. Just a hilarious headline. There's this teen who's following Elon Musk around the world. That's just got to be so funny. That's just hilarious to read. That's just pure comedy.
We already have that with Nancy Pelosi and Congress people's insider trades. Oh, speaking of, remember that whole thing that we talked about with Nancy Pelosi and insider trading, everything like this?
Of course.
Got one fresh off the press for you. So I've been telling my community, I said, hey, listen, guys, Google is undervalued. I know it's $2,700 a share. It's still undervalued based on how much revenue, how much data, how much everything they have, and the future, right? Sure enough, Google has earnings this afternoon. This was 3 hours ago. And during their earnings call, Google has announced a 20-for-1 stock split.
Split?
They are splitting it 20-to-1. That means for every share you have, you will now have 20 shares at 1/20th the valuation. So at this level, it'll be $150 a piece. So instead of one share at $3,000, you'll have 20 at $150. Why is that important? Well, number one, it makes it more investable and more attractive for retail investors who are sitting on shitloads of cash right now. So now you're going to bring more buyers in, just like what Tesla did. They went to 2,500. They split 5-to-1. They went to 500. Then they doubled up again because it became more attractive. So basically, if you had one share before at 2,500, you had 5 shares at 400 or 4 shares at 500, and now you've doubled up. So now you've made 100% return after the split. So that's what Google's doing. But guess who bought 10 September, $2,000 calls on Google last month. Nancy motherfucking Pelosi.
Yeah, okay. Guys, if you didn't hear,
pretty weird, huh?
Listen, if you guys didn't hear, we don't have this wasn't in our run of show. I don't have an article to pull up, but it definitely was something we spoke and covered about
the last episode.
A few episodes ago about Nancy Pelosi and the idea of insider trading and her husband being able to invest their wealth into, it's this idea of politicians, aka people that are making the rules, their ability to then also benefit from the game that they're making the rules for. Obviously, it's a corruption level.
Retail traders don't get that option. We have to stick to meme stocks.
Listen, it's a level of corruption that our world has just become okay with. It's just the norm. It's just how our world functions. It's how it works. There's super rich people.
Alex, what's the next GameStop? Just tell me.
The next GameStop? I don't know. Maybe they go back to EB Games.
It's been a year. I need something.
Maybe they go back to EB Games. I don't know. I can't tell you what's going on with GameStop anymore, except for you told me that their shares are still north of $100, which are insane. Which is absolute insanity.
Well, that's because 1 year ago today, GameStop was $300 a share.
Guys, this whole thing, this whole meme stock craze, insanity thing, that was a huge, whose stock he was very fortunate enough to be in a position to take advantage of about a year ago.
Okay, that actually made sense.
Meme stock madness, guys.
I was fortunate enough to be in a position that I had grinded to get to benefit from it. There you go.
Yes,
see,
guys,
now we're making progress. Good job.
Stocky works very hard. We all know this.
You're not going to pull this shit. They didn't get to hear the whole conversation. You're not going to play the fucking victim here.
Listen, Stocky works very hard. We all know it, guys. Meme stock madness. GameStop and AMC 1 year later. He works hard. He has all these hats that are just laying around. He's a hat guy. He's just buying hats at this point. Guys, according to an article on yahoo.com, we are a year, not just according to this article, we are exactly a year removed from all the crazy meme stock stuff. Look at this. Look at this man. He's busting out another hat. He looks like a cartoon character. After a brutal start to the year, meme stocks are enjoying a 3-day rally, with AMC Entertainment up 25%. The movie theater operator is up 13% Tuesday, having its best day since December after announcing prelim revenue for the fourth quarter that trounced analyst expectations. But again, it was 1 year ago that value stocks were getting a wake-up call by an army of retail investors, so on and so forth. We all know this. Stocky, it's been a crazy year. Talk to us about the meme stocks. What are you anticipating? What stock is going to be meme next? Now that interest rates are going to be going back up, do you expect crypto to keep falling, and are meme stocks going to be less and less of a thing? Well, tell us what's going on.
I think that we get a secondary round. So I did a YouTube video about how spec stocks fell out of a bubble, right? They were a big bubble. The market actually crashed. So the Russell 2000 is small cap, speculative, stocks, mid cap, and it crashed, right? The only reason that the market didn't fall more than the last 10% that it did over the past month and a half was because the big boys kept it up. And if they fell, it was over. But with that being said, I did a video at the end of December talking about how there is a window, in my opinion, that we figured that we would probably see. And remember, I told you on the last video, and I said if video gets out before the FOMC, which it didn't, that we would probably see the market explode. And what ended up happening is it exploded. Then Jay Powell came out, talked it all the way down to red, and then it's been on a massive run for the last couple of days. It's been beautiful, making all kinds of money. But I had expected that between January 15th and February 15th, we would have what was called a resurgence, a explosion of the spec stocks or meme stocks or value stocks, whatever you want to call them, because we knew that the confirmation was going to be that rates most likely won't get raised until March. That gives us a 2-month window before that happens, which gives it a 30-day window for money to flow into these things that are heavily discounted, because there's so many shares and stocks out there that got caught up in the whole implosion of the bubble burst that are collateral damage that have massive value. I mean, some of these stocks are trading 90% down from where they were, and it's tragically undervalued. And I've been picking them up, and because of that, it's been doing really well. So I don't think that we're done yet. I still think there's a pile of cash out there. I think that there's still a lot of people that have money on the sidelines that either made money and sat on it, or didn't lose it, didn't give it back, or, whatever the reason is. And so inflation hasn't quite caught up to everybody yet, so I think some people still have some disposable income, and those that are looking to make money quick are going to see these runs again and are going to take out loans, are going to have money that's been on the sideline, and they're going to buy it.
Ready to pay for it. So we're talking about gun laws, guys. San Jose is now the first city in the nation to mandate gun owners to have liability insurance and pay an annual fee in an effort to curb gun violence. On Tuesday, Council members voted to approve the gun control laws requiring San Jose residents who own guns to pay an annual $25 fee per household and purchase gun insurance that specifically covers losses or damages resulting from any negligent or accidental use of the firearm in 6 months, according to the ordinance. After an intensive 5-hour discussion, blah, 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 with roughly 50,000 residents or San Jose households with guns, the annual fee is expected to bring in about $1.3 million per year. Saki, nice gun there. You're not in San Jose. You don't have to worry about paying taxes on this.
Well, you know what? They shouldn't have to worry about paying taxes about it either, because you know what? Like it or not, you cannot charge people to own a gun.
That's that?
I mean, okay. I don't want to be the whole don't tread on me guy, okay? Because there's a lot of things I think that time has changed and there's a lot of discussions to have. But let me tell you something. And this is stuff that I had to explain to my wife during we were studying for her civics test for her citizenship. But let me tell you something. Do you know that one of the first laws that were passed when the United States became, its own country is that there couldn't be a poll tax? Do you want to know why?
Because it's unfair.
Because the reason there was a poll tax in England and other medieval places in Europe was because that basically stopped poor people from being able to vote. They didn't have the ability to pay.
It's
so
inequitable.
Only rich people and wealthy people got to be able to afford to vote, which means they got to decide who was their leaders, which is just people that are in their pocket, right?
Which is somewhat similar to the conversation around needing an identification or license to vote, which is somewhere similar around that.
Yes and no, but that's also proof of citizenship, because the Constitution does say that you have to be a citizen to vote.
Right.
So there's a different conversation there. This isn't about not allowing everybody to do it. It's about making sure that the people who do it are allowed to do it. That's a whole different conversation. And I'm not saying I'm for or against it. I'm just saying where the constitutional basis for that is. But in our Constitution, and this is something people misunderstand, and I'm not going to go on a whole history lesson here, but the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, a lot of people have been brainwashed to believe that is the rights given to us as citizens. That is not the case. The Bill of Rights is basically telling the government, you can't touch these 10 things. This is 10 things everyone is born with, okay? You have no ability, because remember, this is we the people. This is of the people, by the people, for the people. It's not top down. On top of that, there's another thing that says anything not strictly given to the federal government in the Constitution is automatically relegated to the states. But we've gotten away from that because we've gotten brainwashed and we've gotten whatever, right? The United States is the greatest social political experiment in history, and it's actually worked out. But with that being said, similarly to not having a poll tax is you have a right to bear arms. Now, this is a whole other conversation we could have, because on the civics test, it stated that the answer, and it was wrong. The question was, what is rights granted to every American citizen? And it said the right to bear arms, which is not true, because if you were a wanted felon or you've been, clinically diagnosed to be mentally incompetent, you can't own a gun. So that's actually wrong. But charging someone to own a gun is completely against the Constitution. I mean, you can't do that. Okay, whether you have a municipal thing or a thing about paying for a license to carry or overcharging for ammo, whatever you want to do, that's a whole other conversation. But actually charging individuals a fee to own a gun is unconstitutional. It's literally against our Bill of Rights. It's going against our rights. This won't hold up. This will never hold up. This is going to get challenged. It's going to get struck down.
So it says residents also shared a myriad of concerns about the insurance and fee. Man, every time someone says myriad, I just feel like they're trying to show off that they have a college degree. So it says residents also shared a myriad of concerns about the insurance and fee. Roughly 51 people spoke in opposition, saying it violates the Constitution, misses the mark on solving gun violence, and punishes legal gun owners who often do not commit these crimes. I have a right to keep and bear arms as I see fit to protect myself and property. Resident Wally Gardner said a law-abiding citizen should not have to pay for this right, just like they don't have to pay or should not pay for the First Amendment rights to speak, assemble, and worship freely. So a lot of what Saki was just talking about says about 26 residents voiced support for the gun control measures and praised the council for its innovative approach. Listen, this could be construed as a lot of things. I wouldn't say taxing the American people as innovative. I think taxing is probably one of the most least creative approaches that you can actually take.
And what's going to happen? Here's the thing, and this is the argument that one of the arguments that I often get behind, right? And that is, they say, well, then people who, if we charge people, then they just won't own guns if they can't afford it. Well, first of all, why are you making it that people have? So it depends on your economic, standing if you're allowed to own a gun or not, right? Not your actual person. And number two, criminals aren't going to follow fucking laws regardless. So do you think that those people are going to be like, oh my God, I got to pay $26 to own this gun. Let me give up my illegal gun. No, fuck that. All you're going to do is hurt people that probably live in low income areas that have to worry about someone coming in their house and robbing them and taking everything they have for, because they are cutting back on bills and they can't afford your $36 for this and your insurance for this and this. So now they don't have a gun, and now when they get robbed and they're killed, guess what? What's the town going to say? Oh, we got to do something about crime. And they're probably killed by a criminal who fucking has a gun that's against the law anyways, so you didn't do anything. All you did was create more victims.
So it says, I'm a resident educator who's been locked down for potential guns on campus right across the street at San Jose State several times. The biological sciences professor Katie Wilkinson said, gun violence costs our city so much in terms of lost lives as well as economic costs, and this ordinance is a very innovative approach to try to address some of those costs as well as to incentivize safer gun ownership and behavior. Again, innovative is not the word I would use here. But, gun violence is the thing that everybody's going to continue to keep trying to solve.
How about this? Okay, I could go on a rant for an hour about this, but how about this? If you want, okay, let's just break this down. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm going to give you a general idea. They say in America we have the most gun-related deaths, right? Which is true, right? But that's not, if you break down the numbers, it's not people murdering people, okay? Suicides account for a very large portion of that, right? So that's nothing. That's not gun violence. That's not whatever. That's just somebody with a gun who kills themselves, okay? Police-involved shootings, gang-related shootings. The amount of actual person-on-person murdering that's not gang or crime related or police shooting or suicide or whatnot is so small. It's actually not even in the top 20 in the world, but we don't look at it that way. So if you want to do this, if you want to actually figure this out, now I'm sure there's a debate about banning guns or not banning guns, but let's forget that one for a second. Taxing law-abiding citizens and making it more difficult for people, good people, to own a gun is not going to solve your problems. It is only going to increase it. So you've got two options. Either A, get rid of all of them and hope that somehow magically they don't just come right back into the criminals, and now the criminals know that nobody has guns, so it's even easier for them. Or B, how about you start educating people? A lot of gun violence or gun problems is based on people either A, not knowing how to handle a gun, B, people having mental health. If we fix our mental health system, we'd probably have a lot less of that, okay? And C, all right, let me give you another example, and this is something that I know I'm going to be last all day on this topic, but this is the last thing I want to say. I'm not 100% on board with the everyone should have a gun, right? There are people that clearly should not have a gun because you don't go give Charles Manson a gun, right? You just, there's people that shouldn't have a gun. And I know that that's a gray area with the whole, constitutional thing. But at the same time, restricting people, if you could wave a wand and make all guns go away and no guns come back into the hands of criminals, right? Then I would say, okay, then maybe we could have that conversation. But you're not going to, right? You make everybody in Chicago not be able to have a gun. So what do people do? They just go over to Illinois, get guns, come over and commit crimes and kill people, right? You didn't solve the problem. Yes. You didn't solve the problem. You didn't solve the problem. The only people who don't have guns now are the people who are law-abiding citizens who are now victims of people who, okay, they can't get them in Chicago, they go somewhere else and get them. Oh, then ban them in Illinois. Well, then they go to Canada or Mexico. You can't get rid of guns in the world. You can't, just like you can't get rid of drugs. So stop disarming the good people. Now, Kennesaw, Georgia has a law on the books that says if you live in that city, you are required by law, unless you are a violent felon or mentally unstable, to own a gun and ammunition in your home. You know they've had one murder in 31 years.
What is the law?
That you have to, I don't think they enforce it, but you are required by law to own a gun and ammunition.
And they've had one gun-related death in 31 years. How many people in Kennesaw?
I don't know. Let me check it up real quick.
Let's look at the Kennesaw population. By the way, while Stock is looking that up, last little bit on this article from San Jose Spotlight. It says Sam Parade's the executive director of Gun Owners of California. Commented, he said this will have 0 to less than 0 impact on reducing gun violence or paying for the results of gun violence. There isn't an insurance policy that exists out there that would cover that. So he doesn't seem
cool
to
story.
be.
Maybe we'll touch on it next time. Go to your story ideas at the bottom.
Yep. Is this in this American town, guns are required by law? We'll touch on it right now. We're talking about it. So it says on this article on CNN.com, guys, it says in this American town, guns are required by law. As the debate over guns continues in Washington and in communities across the country, there's at least one place where owning a gun is technically required by law. In Kennesaw, Georgia, local law says that every head of household residing in the city limits is required to maintain a firearm. If you're going to commit a crime in Kennesaw and you're the criminal, are you going to take a chance that the homeowner is a law-abiding citizen? Asked Kennesaw Mayor Derek.
Okay,
Easterling.
let's skip all that. This is the most important part. He said that the law didn't actually go into effect until 1982, and it was meant to be a crime deterrent. But it also became somewhat of a political statement because a neighboring city, Morton Grove, Illinois, passed a city ordinance banning handguns from their city limits. Back then, the town had a population of a few thousand. Over the last 3 decades, the law is still on the books. Today, Kennesaw has over 35,000 people and has had one murder in the last 6 years, and violent crime rate is below 2%.
And what are the stats of the other town?
I don't fucking know. I didn't look that up.
So, I mean, this is an argument for, obviously, everybody having guns. And, it's a small sample size, only 33,000 people. We don't really know.
It's a small sample size.
We don't really know anything about this
much
town.
More,
we don't know anything about the town. The crime rates could be naturally low there. You know what I mean? There could be a lot of people that just keep to themselves.
It's only
this,
home
that, or the
defense.
other.
It's not like everybody's walking around with a gun on their hip.
No, but there's a game theory there of what they had just described of you're not going to go rob someone, if you think that they have a gun in their house. I think the game theory is larger than that, though. I think it's just, hey, everybody knows that everybody's is.
Well, no criminals are going to come
protected.
into the city to rob a house they know has a gun in it.
Or go into a city that they know has 33,000 people that have access to a gun, probably
and yet
5
those
feet
people
away from
aren't
where they
killing
sleep.
each other either. So it's kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not an expert on gun laws. I can just tell you that it's one of those things that is never going to go away. Everybody's going to have opinions on it. One thing that I love about this world, man, is diversity of thought, and some people have some really good takes for and against. It's always great to hear. If you guys do have your own...
Is it always great to hear, though? Because from our next story, I'm not sure that person's take was really worth hearing.
Guys, if you do have, in the era of diversity of thought, if you guys have something awesome to add to the gun conversation, comment it down below.
I can't wait for the comments. I look forward to the comments.
Guys, and
I'm not going to shit on people. Here's the thing. I'm not against people who are anti-gun at all. I as I've gotten older, I've come to the realization that just because I disagree with somebody doesn't mean that we just totally disagree, right? We're not automatically against each other, right? And what I try to do is understand not what their opinion is, but why they have that opinion. Like if somebody's family was murdered by somebody with a gun, they're obviously going to think about it differently. Or, so I don't like to jump to conclusions, and I never try to convince somebody that I'm right and they're wrong. I try to understand where they're coming from, see where our middle ground is, and kind of get an understanding where they are. That way in the future, if we come on a topic, I can come at it from a different angle or address it differently.
7 billion people in the world, man. 350 million people in our country that we occupy here with. A lot of people are going to view the world differently, have past experiences that are different. It's worth it to hear what other people are going through and what they have to add. Obviously, not everyone's going to think the same thing. Gun laws are one of those things where
some people think you're just fortunate and unlucky.
Yeah, some people
And some
think
that the Holocaust. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, guys, Stocky had just mentioned, obviously, maybe not always great to hear diversity of thought if the person's thoughts seem to be wildly off base and inaccurate. So in keeping with the heavy stories of the day, guys, The View's Whoopie Goldberg claims that the Holocaust isn't about race during discussion about Mouse. By the way, Mouse is a novel. So it said Whoopi Goldberg made the controversial comment while discussing a Tennessee school district that banned the graphic novel Mouse, which is about the Holocaust. During the show, The View, Goldberg argued that the Holocaust isn't about race, as the co-hosts were debating whether it was fair that a Tennessee school chose to pull Mouse. On Monday evening, Goldberg issued an apology on social media. On today's show, I said the Holocaust is not about race, but about man's inhumanity to man. I should have said it is about both. As Jonathan Greenblatt from the Anti-Defamation League shared, the Holocaust was about the Nazis' systematic annihilation of the Jewish people, who they deemed to be an inferior race. I stand corrected. But what was her direct quote? Didn't you say it was a little bit more? It felt a little bit more damning than that.
She had said the quote. She said that that the Holocaust. I'm paraphrasing, but the Holocaust was not about racism. and that it was just about humans being horrible to humans. And then she was getting questioned on that because they're like, wait, no, this was literally about Hitler killing people who were not of the perfect Aryan white race. And I think in her eyes, because they were not African American or something of that kind of minority, it didn't appear to her that it was racism. And I don't know if she was trying to say that, to try to deflect from racism in America now versus something in the past and trying to say that, oh, you're taking away from it, or if she really believed that or not. But it was such a dumb take. It was such a dumb take. Like that. Here's the thing. A lot of people, and this is what gets me upset. People will say on my show all the time, I'll make an accent for an Indian or something, right? Because I married into an Indian family. Well, American now, but an Indian family, whatever like that. And I'll do like, oh, I bet. And people are like, oh, that's racist. I'm like, no, you don't understand what racism is. That is not racism. That is me. Not only is an accent not racism. I mean, you can be any race and have an accent from a country. It just depends on the region you're in. I mean, there's people that are African American that have British accents. There are people that are white that have Hispanic accents. I mean, it just depends on where you grow up. But the actual definition of racism is believing that another race is inferior due to their race, right? I mean, the actual definition. Hold on, let me do this right now while we're on the topic.
Yeah,
but
and
if
so,
I were to do this, the actual definition is prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular racial or ethnic group, typically one a minority or marginalized. The belief that different races possess different, whatever. So basically, you're saying that because somebody is of a different race, they're unequal or they're inferior. And you either believe that or treat them that way. That is racism. Okay, but we've gotten into this social, I don't know if I want to call it social justice or cancel culture or just woke society where we've gone overboard. Now, some people would say, hey, listen, it's better to go overboard than to allow atrocities to take place. And I 100% agree. I'm on board with that, right? I'd rather somebody tell me to shut up rather than to keep talking, right? Like I want to be safe. But we've transcended beyond that, right? Like we've gone from, okay, it's not okay to say this person can't eat or drink here, or this person can't get here or do this because of their race. That's absolute racism. But saying something or doing an accent or whatever, it's just we've gone so far. And the reason that it bothers me so much is not because it's like, oh God, people are pussies. No, it's because what you end up doing is diluting or taking away from the actual racism, because what you do is you blanket everything in this term, and then the things that are actually under that blanket are now muddled with the things that aren't, and then they don't get the attention they deserve, and you're doing more harm than good when you're trying to fix a problem.
Can we just, when it comes to the Holocaust, can we just everybody agree that it's the worst? It's like, it's all categories of the worst thing about everything. It can literally be both racism and about man's inhumanity of man. It's literally both. And the fact that Whoopi Goldberg had to come out and apologize, she apologized very quickly. She came out and retracted her statement. And obviously she said it was about both, trying to stand her ground. But yeah, I mean, it's about literally every bad thing that a person could do to another person. So, it would be nice if we can just let the Holocaust, bringing up the Holocaust, and obviously they banned this book. The Tennessee School District banned the book, so that's why they were talking about it on the show.
A lot of books right now, man.
Yeah, I mean that's why we're
going straight 1984 right now. Every time the left bans a book on the right bans a book on the left. It's crazy. Like To Kill a Mockingbird has been taken out now. Like I mean that. And there's going to be an argument. And I know a lot of people are going to be listening to this like, wow, two fucking white guys talking about racism. Yeah. I get it. But you know what? Your race doesn't matter. Critical thinking doesn't have a thing here, right? Like, did I ever have to? That's like saying that someone can't talk about struggles in their life because I grew up so poor and abused and distraught as a child. Therefore, no one who hasn't experienced what I haven't can't have an opinion on it. No, they can. They just maybe can't relate the same way.
Well,
or they may
and
not,
again,
they may
this
not hold the same.
is in keeping with what we were just talking about. Diversity of thought. Diversity in all walks of life are healthy, and it's great for society. We should be welcoming of all races. We should be welcoming of all sort of views of the world. It makes our world better. At the end of the day, this is a story about about Whoopi Goldberg's comments on the Holocaust. It just feels like it's so unnecessary. Whoopi Goldberg and everybody else in the public spotlight, just realize when you talk about the Holocaust that it's just the worst thing ever, and don't ever try to make it sound like it is not in any way, shape, or form. That's the key learning here. I mean, I feel like that's just an easy one. Again, guys, this was between the gun laws and the Whoopi Goldberg conversation. These were the two heavy things that are in the news that we felt relevant to bring up.
There's never been a topic or an opinion that came from that show, The View, that mattered. Like I feel like I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm not trying to be a dick. I am being a dick. That show is probably, I would say, has given less to the world than Jerry Springer did. I said it.
The View has been
The View has given as
less
much
creative to the world than Jerry Springer,
as or less than the Jerry Springer show.
Who gave more to the world, Jerry Springer or Maury?
Well, Jerry Springer was a governor in Cleveland or something like that.
I mean, the show, not the people. Which show, Jerry Springer or Maury?
I would say Jerry Springer did, because with Jerry Springer, they kept it fresh. With Maury, it was just like the same, like, he's not the father.
It was the same. Maury was like the same episode every time you watch it. It was the same. It was the same damn thing. You know what else was kind of like the same episode? Watching Tom Brady play football ever for 22 years. Guys, Tom Brady announced his retirement today. It's another big, huge, massive thing in the news. He was in the Super Bowl 10 times of his 20 years as a starting quarterback, because he wasn't the starting quarterback his first year, and he was not the year that he broke his leg. So 20 years he was a starter. He was in the Super Bowl 10 times. He was in the Super Bowl 50% of the times. That's pretty insanity. Guys, he retired today. For all the football fans out there, a lot of people were trying to make a big deal about, he didn't mention the Patriots in his retirement. And, it's like, he didn't call out Belichick, and, he's not
supposed to. He's not retiring as a Patriot. He can talk about that later on. You don't do that when you're on a team. Like you don't like that's like going to YouTube as a former Twitch streamer and then leaving YouTube and be like, yo, I want to thank Twitch and YouTube. No, you thank YouTube, you do your thing, and then later on you come back and you talk about your thing, or you go back and or maybe you
later on here
officially retire. He'll probably officially retire with a 1-day contract after he's released from the Bills. He'll probably come back and retire as a Patriot.
Bucks retires as a Patriot. That returning to it is going to be his Hall of Fame speech, man. He'll talk about his relationship with Belichick and his relationship with the city of Boston.
Can I do something real quick? I don't know why I'm asking. So I am going to reverse something that I said for 20 years. Okay, I am going to reverse. I am right here, right now, on the eve of Tom Brady retiring, going to say I was wrong for 20 years. And that is that I kept being a parrot and repeating myself that the only reason Tom Brady won all those Super Bowls and all that stuff was because of Bill Belichick. And I take that back. I always said that it was Bill Belichick's system and team that was the only reason. I said you could put any quarterback back there and they would win a Super Bowl. And I never gave Tom Brady the credit. And I think it's because I hated Tom Brady starting in 2007, 2008. After they went undefeated and lost to the Giants, then the Jaguars, because the Jaguars make the playoffs every 9 years. They made it in 2007, 2008, and they went to the championship game or the division game, and they played against the Patriots and lost after we had just beaten the Steelers. We always beat the Steelers in the playoffs. And after that, I was like, fuck this guy. And then you want to hate somebody when they're so good, right? Especially when they're in the AFC and they win all this stuff. You don't really hate them. You hate their fan base, and you hate, and then you just start to get this thing like, I'm so sick of seeing this person. Like Mahomes is becoming that guy. Like I was so happy to see Mahomes lose because I just get tired of seeing the same guy in the fucking Super Bowl every goddamn time. Like I wanted Josh Allen. I was rooting for him. Like I was so pissed when Josh Allen, who, he's a good quarterback, and they had a shootout. I wanted to see him go. And so when the Bengals came back and won, I was pumped because it's not that I'm rooting for the Bengals. I'm rooting against Mahomes. And it's not that I'm a dick. It's just that if it's not your team, you don't want to see the same person every day. But you know what? I'm going to give credit where credit is due. And I'm going to say that Tom Brady will go down, in my opinion, and I'm saying this here officially, I can't believe I'm doing it, as the greatest quarterback of all time.
I mean, listen, Stock would talk about the coldest takes of all time, not only saying that it wasn't just Brady or it wasn't just Belichick a year after he won the Super Bowl with another team, but also coming in saying he's the GOAT with 7 Super Bowl titles. Listen, I would congratulate you, but those are some of the coldest. Those are some of the coldest takes I've ever heard.
Condescending shit I'm talking about right there.
Those are some of the coldest
with the hot takes. Waiting until he goes to another team, wins the Super Bowl, to finally admit that it wasn't Belichick, and he wins 7 Super Bowls, and Stocky's, wow, what a big
some
man
of the coldest
to say
takes.
the greatest quarterback of all time.
It's because
you know what?
Of course
Last
he's the
year,
best.
I would have said that Joe Montana was the greatest quarterback of all time.
What?
Okay.
Last year after Brady won the Super Bowl with the Bucks?
Yeah.
Well, he's got 7 Super Bowls, 2 different teams. You realize this year he's going to retire as
Why
the
are you
MVP.
getting so fucking passionate? I'm sorry that the 85 Bears are the most overrated team of all time.
I'm not getting passionate. What I'm trying to do
Even
is
more
describe
overrated than the 72
coldness,
Dolphins.
Yeah, the absolute frozenness of that take. You
weren't even undefeated.
At 45, listen to this deflection.
There wasn't even any. You weren't playing against anybody that year.
This guy and his tangents. No. We're like Bill Burr. We're staying right in the pocket. We're going to stay so hellified focused on this. The take that Tom Brady in 2020 by the way, in 2021, he will not only have won the Super Bowl, but he will have had his regular season campaign at 45 years old to be the MVP. I think it's pretty safe to say he's the greatest quarterback of all time. Joe Montana doesn't even come close.
The whole thing about Super Bowls and everything like that, that's not what makes somebody great, right? I'll give you an example. The
Super
most
Bowls?
underrated quarterback of all time, the one no one ever puts in their top 20, top 40, top 50, in my opinion, the most underrated quarterback of all time is Jim Kelly. That man went to 4 straight Super Bowls and lost 4 of them in a row. His team lost 4 of them in a row. And because of that, no one ever even mentions him. No other quarterback has ever gone to 4 Super Bowls in a row, but nobody talks about it because they didn't win the Super Bowl, right? One game is the difference between all that, okay? The most overrated quarterback of all time, Dan Marino. Fucking trash, okay? All that man did was sit back and throw. When you throw 60 times a game, of course you're going to have a bunch of records, okay? They had, in his 17 years there, they had one 1,000-yard rusher in 17 years. Of course he had all the records, okay?
To be fair
rated.
To be fair to Dan Marino, I don't think there's anybody that's making quarterback lists in 2022 that include Dan Marino in their top 10. So
I'm sorry that I'm an older guy, but even back in the 90s and 2000s,
in the 90s he was wildly overrated.
Ended his career with a 62-7 dredging in the playoffs.
Shout out Mark Brunell. Shout out Keenan McCardell. Shout out all your other Jaguar homies.
Keenan McCardell was the wide receiver coach for Jacksonville for a few years. They got rid of him last year.
All these
and now
90s.
Byron Leftwich might be coming back as the coach. The only problem is that,
he might be the head coach. You're right.
Well, he might, but the problem is Sean doesn't want to get rid of, or Shad doesn't want to get rid of Balk. But we're not going to talk about football all day. Listen, to Tom Brady, and I'm not kissing anyone's ass. Listen, but here's the thing, man. You know what? I was wrong. All right? I think it was a little bit of hate. It was a little bit of jealousy. It was a little bit of anger. But you know something, man? Where credit is due, okay? Great career. I love to see you go because I'm tired of seeing you beat the Jags. But at the same time, listen, what a career, man. What a fucking career. You were fortunate to be on that team.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you that watch football, we're going to
talk.
You
were fortunate that Drew Bledsoe got hurt.
You were
fortunate that Vinatieri bailed you out all those times.
He was 100% fortunate that all of those things
you
happened.
You didn't carry everything else. No, those moments are why you're successful. Go ahead.
There's some weird hill that Stocky's trying to die on, something about fortunate or unfortunate guys. All that I know,
I'm the fucking Rough Riders, baby.
All that I know is that Tom Brady.
You didn't even get that reference.
That 2022 brings us Tom Brady's retirement, but it also brings us what will be, according to the show The Jetsons, George Jetson's eventual birth. Guys, George Jetson will be born in 2022, and other predictions from the Jetsons, according to denofgeek.com. An article here, it says, this year is a big one for science fiction mythology. If there is any truth in advertising, the Jetsons will be celebrating a blessed pre-event this year. According to the math, 2022 is the year George Jetson will be born. When it premiered on ABC in 1962, the Jetsons promos explained the series, which had plot lines as old as the Flintstones, was set exactly 100 years in the future. Everything there is to know about George, voiced by George O'Hanlon, seems to be laid out in the theme song. And I'm guessing the article is going to tell us that he was 40 years old. Modern science has not yet determined what a space sprocket actually does, but we can assume it will be clear by 2062 when the Jetsons is set. In the days when everyone had black and white TVs, the Hanna-Barbera produced Jetsons, so on and so forth. Guys, George Jetson's supposed to be born this year. It's a big year. Not only are we losing Tom Brady.
It doesn't even matter. Back to the Future already ruined it. Back to the Future in 2020, you were supposed to have hoverboard, skateboards, everything like that. But can I be honest with you? Originally I was all like, all right, it's 2022. I've seen all the movies, Blade Runner, all these. Where's my flying cars? But the more I live in South Florida and see people driving on the road, the less I want fucking 2,000-pound things flying above me, because people can't drive on the fucking ground. Imagine them trying to drive in the air. It would just be death everywhere.
You're making this realization now in your 30s. I remember looking around when I was like 9 and saying it would be insane for people to fly cars. Why are we even making movies about this? Everyone stay on the ground. 2-dimensional travel is fine. And sometimes that's not even good enough for humans. Sometimes they reckon that situation 3-dimensional. People are above you, below you, you're going fast, slow. Bro, that would be
just go underground. Like I don't want that. I want the underground bullet trains that get me from New York to LA, 2 cities I wouldn't want to go to anyways, in an hour. That's where is that at? That's what I want. Speaking of space, and we didn't get to the story. I can't believe we didn't get to the story about the guy who lost the trip. I guess we say that for next time.
Nope, we have enough time.
All right, speaking of space, we got to hit this one up before we do my text and my rant.
Guys, right before the end of the show, according to this article on apnews.com, he won a trip to space. Then he gave it away to a friend. He told his family and a few friends. He dropped hints to a couple of colleagues, so hardly anyone knows that the airline pilot should have been on board when SpaceX launched its first tourist into orbit last year. Meet Kyle Hipchen, the real winner of a first-of-its-kind sweepstakes, who gave his seat to his college roommate. Though Hipchen's secret is finally out, that doesn't make it any easy knowing that he missed his chance to orbit Earth because he exceeded the weight limit. He still hasn't watched the Netflix series on a 3-day flight purchased by a tech entrepreneur for himself and 3 guests last September. It hurts too much, he said. I'm insanely disappointed, but it is what it is. Hipchen, 43, a Florida-based captain of Delta's regional carrier Endeavor Air, recently shared his story with the AP during his first visit to NASA's Kennedy Space Center since his lost rocket ride. This is Kyle, guys. This guy was going to go to space. Didn't hit the weight limit. Couldn't go to space. Whatever the reason, it sucks. Imagine being given a chance. I mean, would you go?
Whatever the reason.
Would you go?
There's a difference between not going because you ate too much and because you got your fucking leg cut off or some shit, landmine in Afghanistan.
Regardless, what I'm saying is, regardless of the reason, it sucks that you can't go. Obviously,
but I'd feel bad for him if it was something he couldn't help.
I mean,
I know that sounds insensitive, and I get that.
Yes. We're currently not in the mode of feeling bad or feeling good. We're just trying to think about it from your perspective. If you couldn't go for whatever reason, that would suck big. Like, that sucks for this guy. Now, what you're saying is 100% true.
For him. Like, I would hate it. Like, you know what? The only thing that makes me feel bad for him is that it was such a short time frame that he doesn't have the opportunity to lose the weight I guess it's not. I guess it's. I don't know how long of a time frame. So that's what sucks, and I feel bad for him because, like, if they would have said, like, "Oh, you have a year until we're leaving," and he could work off the weight, and he still didn't make it, then I'd be like, "Well,
they should have told him. They should have given him like an exercise program and said, "Hey, we want you to go because you won." Now, granted, I'm saying they should have done that. He also should have probably taken it of his own accord to get make sure he knew what the weight limit was and that kind of stuff. But regardless, man, it sucks you can't go. Yeah,
I mean, and you know what? They've got to think about this too when they're doing raffles, because I think something like 50 to 60% of Americans are obese and like 40% are morbidly obese now. It's insane. And COVID, the weight in America, the average, they think something like that, the average body weight in America went up by like 11 pounds. On
COVID
average,
COVID was the big missed opportunity to talk about the American health condition. Honestly, it was never really discussed.
Many of the people who died from COVID in the beginning were people that had pre-existing conditions, but people that were overweight, that couldn't breathe or couldn't keep their heart going or couldn't do whatever. They weren't healthy, and a lot of people were saying, well, this is nature clearing itself out, which is a very dark way of thinking of it. But it's like that's something that it doesn't. And this goes back to what we were talking about with the Second Amendment and states' rights, something like that. I mean, New York City tried doing it. They were like, oh, we're gonna ban anything above a 16-ounce soda or a 2-liter soda. So like they were trying to like ban it. You can't regulate that shit. Imagine if there was a fucking underground Coca-Cola, Pepsi ring or some shit like that, like a black market for sodas. You can't regulate that. But what does it come back to? It comes back to education. Everybody says, Stocky, you always say the same thing, right? And it's not as simple as you say it is. It is. You could fix so many problems in this world with less money if you focused on 2 things. And that is family and education. Why is it that socioeconomic classes, groups of people, different areas seem to tend to have people that exceed and excel more? Because they have family and education. And a lot of people are going to say, well, that's easy for them because they come from a place where it's easier. I'm not blaming people. I'm talking about government programs. Instead of handing out money or handing out this or doing this, also take some of that money and invest in these things, because that is going to continue to make people better. Whether it not you, whatever, however you get there, that is the way to fix things, is family and education. It's not going to be perfect, but we don't spend time on that. And then there's always going to be those people who be like, well, that's because we want to keep people ignorant and poor because they'll vote for this person or that person or that. No, family and education. Okay. Now, I'm not saying it always works. I didn't have family. I didn't have much education. I ended up educating myself and I was there. But the thing is that if you go into a place, low income or place that's, third world or whatever like that, you'll find that oftentimes, and especially if it's an even playing field in America, the places that don't have good family or education and don't focus on that are the places that have the biggest problems. And just like with health, education, people don't get educated. I educate people about money. Every single day I see people who don't know the basics. It's not their fault. Just like people with their diet. It's not their fault that they don't know what to do. They were never taught it.
So guys, on that heavy note, there to end episode 12. Guys, let's enter into the two things we do to end this show. Stocky's rants and Stocky's texts. So first off, Stocky, what do you got for us? For a rant,
on the text.
Bro?
No, text first, right?
Let's do your rant first. Let's get your rant going. Let's get your rant
first. All right, here's gonna be my rant. This is Stocky's random rant, the SRR. All right. I was looking at this thing about PETA, right? We were talking about Dolce & Gabbana, right? There was a news story we didn't get to. Dolce & Gabbana, they are cutting out fur and they're going faux fur, which is great. I love the idea. I mean, I was never really a fan of clubbing baby seals. It really is bad on your wrists anyways. So I get it, and I'm all for making change, okay? I'm all for making change, guys, okay? But PETA, Occupy Wall Street, BLM, Antifa, Proud Boys, German Antifa. I don't give a shit what your cause is. Don't fucking sit in traffic. I swear to God, the one way that you are going to get me, I may not even know what your cause is. I may be for you. I may be indifferent. But the one way to make me fucking do everything I can against you is to inconvenience me, okay? If I got to get to work, if I got to get somewhere for my kid, if I got to go to the hospital, and you're sitting in the fucking road, in Florida, they actually passed a law that made me happy, and that's that you're allowed to run the fuck over those people. Now, I know that that's a gray area, but goddamn it right in Florida. But let me tell you some shit right here. You want me to not go over your cause? Listen, you want me to support, stop looking at me like that, Alex. You want me to support you and getting better treatment for animals? Listen, I'm all for it. I try to, I'd love to. It's expensive. I try to spend a little extra money on free range stuff and healthy stuff to not do that. But if you fucking sit in front of the street when I'm trying to get somewhere to get groceries for my baby, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn around. I'm going to go to McDonald's, okay? I'm going to come right back to your line. I'm going to get out. I'm going to take a big bite out of my burger, okay? I'm going to swallow it, and then I'm going to pull out and I'm going to fuck that burger in front of you, okay? Just because I want you to know that I enjoy it inside and out, and I am going to ruin your life. Or if it's in Florida, I'll run you over. Stop being a piece of shit. If you want to protest your government or a corporation, go fuck with them, not with me. That's my rant.
That's a very good rant. Don't sit in traffic, guys. You could get yourself hurt. Obviously, it's annoying as hell. We all see those videos on the internet. So thank you for Stocky's random rant, guys. We also have Stocky's text message. For those of you guys that don't know, Stocky has not opened text messages basically for the past 6 years of his life. He's got over, I think, 700 or something, 500 unread text messages dating back to 2017. So in keeping with our tradition, Stocky goes back to the oldest text message that he has yet to open, and he reads it aloud for us. We've had some amazing encounters. The first one was someone that he just left hanging at where the Heat play basketball, and by the looks of this one, it's also probably something similar. Stocky, what do you got for us?
Oh my God. December 24th, 2017, 8:06 p.m. from my grandmother.
Oh my God, from your grandma, bro? Read it.
Love you. Thanks for last night. It was so special. Tell my wife that we found her Christmas gift at the front door when we got home. We won't be able to mail it until a couple of days. Don't eat the steak left over yet, but can't wait. The cheesecake was to die for. Love you, silly. Please, let's do this more often. Great being part of your world. Like Oh, love you and have a Merry Christmas to both of you. Love, my grandmother.
6 years ago, 5 years ago, you left your grandmother hanging like that, man. You should text her back.
Because she never texts me.
You should text her back. You should text your grandma back.
I'm gonna call her right after this.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, you should do more. You should FaceTime her, and you should probably gather the family up and have a nice little FaceTime moment.
Hold on.
One of those nice 30-minute calls, FaceTime with grandma. Are you calling your grandma right now?
Cannot be completed as dialed. Please.
Is that supposed to be your grandma's number and you're calling it? It's when's the last time you talked to your grandma?
A couple days ago.
Okay. Phone call?
Yeah.
Okay, all's good then.
My New Year's resolution was to stay in contact more with people.
Well, good. I'm glad we introduced this segment to the show. Guys, this was episode 12 of the Stock Guy and Alex Show, the podcast that covers topics around the world.
Now I feel like shit. Can I read out another one?
Nope. We got till next week, guys. If you want to hear another missed text from Stocky, or that's on Stocky's phone, come back for episode 13. Guys, business
We're
news.
getting through them together now. Look at this. I know we're running over time, but look, we're getting through them. We only have 517 left.
517 missed text messages. That doesn't even talk about your emails, which is 6 digits. Guys, the Stock Guy and Alex Show can be watched,
What about my Discord?
listened, and viewed
alerts?
on YouTube and Spotify. It will also soon be able to be downloaded and listened to wherever podcasts are downloaded. Follow
My
the show on
daughter's a
Twitter,
gangster.
Insta, LinkedIn, TikTok, and all the other major socials for clips, moments, and information about new episodes. Guys, go forth and conquer and enjoy your week. Sucks is my daughter's a
Listen,
gangster.
in 20 years when they do Fast and the Furious again, they're gonna make her the badass chick.
One love, guys. Bye.
Bye.